The Celestial Portal breaks everything. Before the addition of this structure, your character choice was very important, and something that you had to commit to for the whole game. Granted, there are other ways to change character in certain versions of the game, but these require either a sacrifice of the whole world, or the completion of adventure mode twice, which were often choices that had to be considered carefully. The Celestial Portal is a violent contrast to these methods. With it, the player can switch characters with little to no repercussions. The loss of a single purple gem in Moonrock is hardly comparable to having to regenerate your entire world, or having to complete adventure mode multiple times. To be fair, the Celestial Portal is in a completely different game to the other character change methods. Don't Starve Together is generally a lot easier on the player when it comes to this kind of thing, which is another issue entirely, but does that really excuse the Celestial Portal's immense effect on how many characters are viewed as part of the game? The Celestial Portal was added in its own little update, which was not part of Return of Them or A New Reign. It can be built by locating a Celestial Orb, fallen from the sky in a random meteor shower, and then using this to craft a portal paraphernalia with one board and one rope. Start construction of the Celestial Portal by placing the paraphernalia over the florid postern. From here, the Celestial Portal can be built with 20 Moonrocks and a purple moon lens. Using it to change characters requires the sacrifice of a Moonrock idol, which is crafted at the Celestial Orb for one purple gem and one Moonrock. Initially, building the portal is something that's not easily done. Amassing the large amount of Moonrocks required and finding the Celestial Orb are not tasks which can be rushed. But the real problem here is that the Celestial Portal can be reused indefinitely with no cooldown. After clearing the ruins, many purple gems can easily be amassed. Since they don't really have any other late game use apart from telelocator focuses, changing characters becomes a highly cheap activity. So why is changing characters so powerful? Does your current character really matter that much? Well, sort of. In the grand scheme of things, any character can do anything that any other character can. Just some characters are much more efficient or faster than most. Which is fine, that kind of thing is to be expected in a game like Don't Starve. But when some characters are so distanced from the others in terms of levels of power, it does become a bit of an issue, especially in a multiplayer environment. The Celestial Portal doesn't exactly help this problem, as it actually indirectly makes the meta characters even better. Characters like Wolfgang, Wickerbottom, or WX78 constantly provide the player with powerful perks. WX has his ridiculously beefy stats and speed boost, Wolfgang has his double damage capabilities and a speed boost, and Wickerbottom has her spellbooks that only she and Maxwell can read, and have to be recrafted often as they have limited uses. Wickerbottom isn't as strong of an example as the other two, as theoretically you could craft a large surplus of Wicker's books, and then switch to Maxwell in order to have resource harvesting capabilities and access to Granny's grimoire, although you will, at some point, have to change back to Wickerbottom. Regardless, one of the reasons why these characters are the meta is that they have access to a broad range of abilities that are lost upon changing, especially WX78, as changing characters from them will result in you losing any upgrades. In contrast to these characters is post-rework Winona. She is best known for her Catapults, structures that will target nearby foes and pelt an endless slew of rocks at them, while powered by either of her two generators. They are an excellent late game way to farm and cheese bosses such as the Dragonfly, Bee Queen, and the Ancient Fury. Sounds all well and good, yeah? Well, one of the reasons why Winona is not considered to be a meta character is that one can simply switch to or play as her, build catapults and generators, and then switch back to being essentially immortal as WX78. Now, instead of just having 400 health, 200 hunger, and a built-in speed boost, you can have 400 health, 200 hunger, a built-in speed boost, and a reusable Bee Queen or Dragonfly farm. Obviously, this specific case isn't only due to the Celestial Portal, as Winona herself is lacking in incentives for long-term play. Even her other perks reinforce her status as a swap character. Trusty Tapes can either be mass-produced as Winona, or simply replaced by sewing kits, and her fast-building perk is only really useful while megabasing. Even then, one could switch to Winona, make Trusty Tapes and other resources en masse, and then switch back. In order for these issues to be rectified, well, removing the portal entirely would be pretty lame. It is nice to have a way to change characters, but it would be nicer if there was some long-term repercussions or sacrifice that had to be made. Something like regenerating the entire world isn't really an option in Don't Starve Together, as if every player in the world doesn't consent to this, there will surely be issues. A possible solution is to have the materials to build and use the Celestial Portal drop from the Ancient Fury, or better thematically, a planned final boss that may be included in Return of Them. This would mean that players would have to wait until defeating this boss to build and initially use the Celestial Portal, and then defeat it again to reuse it X amount of times. In my eyes, this would make character changing viewed as a more costly event, and would reduce its capabilities to be abused. But in order for the Celestial Portal to truly be nerfed, characters would have to be adjusted so that they aren't viewed as swap characters. Since Winona has already received her rework, the chances of her being revisited are pretty slim. Hopefully the rest of the characters don't lose any attributes that are permanently tied to them and lost upon transforming when they get reworked. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the Celestial Portal. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any input or feedback about it, be sure to leave them in the comments section. See you next time.